Chef John again. Remember again, ask the chef at yourchefservice.com if you have any questions about this or any other video I have out there. Okay, today we're going to make a nice Super Bowl appetizer, I'll call it. It's called sausage bread. What we're going to need is one store-bought piece of dough. You can buy it from a pizzeria. It's probably around 20 to 24 ounces. They call it scaled at 24 to 24 ounces. That's the size of the dough that they get, and they put it on the scale. They'll sell it that way. It'll usually fit in about a half sheet pan. So a sheet pan or half sheet pan is generally what you see in the home. I have some regular white sesame seeds. I have one egg yolk, which I splashed with a little olive oil. I'll show you that, what we're going to do with that later. I diced up 12 ounces of mozzarella cheese. Okay? The way you dice up mozzarella, okay, just slice it like this, and take a piece out of it, cut it here in 3 pieces, and then cut it across, and you have little boxes or little squares. Okay, that's a nice size. If you want, if you're more convenient and buy shredded mozzarella, they do sell that in the grocery store. You can use that also. It just, when you use the diced mozzarella, it gives a little bit different texture, a little nicer texture in the bread. But if you want to use shredded, it's fine. I also have one of those big onions, those big Vidalia onions or sweet onions. And I had sliced it up and I cooked it in the frying pan. I sauteed it in about 3 tablespoons of olive oil with a little pepper. I gave it a couple of turns with my pepper mill. Okay? I don't use salt in it because this is sausage bread, and generally sausage has enough salt in it. This is 1.5 pounds of cooked sausage. So I bought 1.5 pounds of sausage. I put a little olive oil in the pan, and then I cooked it up. Then you kind of, when it's in there, you kind of chop it up. You can chop it up with a a spatula or a spoon. Just kind of break it up. Medium to low heat is fine. And then just put it on the side. If you have a lot of fat, save a little bit. If you have too much fat, get rid of the excess fat, because you want a little moist, but you don't need too much of the fat. Okay, this is my pizza dough. I'm here in New York, and we have a company that you'll find in the grocery stores. There's a company, House of Pasta brand, pasta dough. It's a nice pasta dough. This I actually made it. I cheated because I have the kitchen and I can do that, so I made it. But for your convenience, you just buy it. It's very nice. I'm going to spray the sheet pan with some oil. You can use olive oil or regular oil. I kind of like olive oil because this is what we always use. And I'm going to spread this dough out. It's kind of like rounds. As you see, I'm working it. Can you see that okay, Rob? Should I move these things? Let's see. Okay. Try this. Let me get rid of this knife so it doesn't fall on my foot. You're working from the middle and pushing the dough out. Here's thick, here it's thin. You don't want to put a hole in it, but you want to spread it out. So I'm just going to keep on spreading it out. You're kind of working it towards the edges. Now when you buy the House of Pasta pizza dough or the pizza dough from a pizzeria, usually it's ready to go. When you buy it, or excuse me, when you make it, you have to let the dough rise and let it fall and knock it down and then rise. You have to do that 3 times. So I already did this. So this dough is prepared. But that's going to be a lesson for a different day. I try to keep these short and to the point and show you a nice item so you can make it at home. Okay? So as I'm spreading this, you see here, I feel it thick here and thin here. So I can still work it out the middle. You work it out the middle. Okay, you want it as even as you can. You work it into those corners. And the reason you're doing that is because you want a nice big piece of dough, and you're going to roll up with the sausage, the onion, and mozzarella. I'll show you how to do that when we get there. All right? Okay, so now this dough, I weighed this, I believe this was 22 ounces. The pizza dough in the pizzeria are somewhere between 20 and 24 ounces. Don't be afraid. The measurements will work. If it's a little bit less or too much, don't worry about it. It's going to be a nice product. Okay. So I have this dough all rolled out. You can make a pizza on there. Put a little sauce, a little cheese, and you're done. Boom, right in the oven. I already preheated my oven to 350 degrees. Okay, so while this is getting ready, the oven's getting hot. You don't need this to sit around too long while the oven's getting ready. So you kind of work things at the same time. Okay, now you see this is grease in here. That's okay, because that's going to be moist. I left enough fat in the sausage to make sure it's going to be a nice moist dough, or I should say sausage bread. Okay, I'm going to spread this. I keep it a little bit off the edges because we're going to roll it and I need room to actually maneuver it. I'll show you how we're going to do that. This is the onion. I'm going to put the onion in here. Okay. Spread it over, nice thin layer of onion. Don't be afraid. If you want to use a little less, use a little less. If you cook too much, make an omelet with it in the morning. Same thing with the sausage. If you cook too much sausage, it looks like it's too full. It can never be too full. People love it. Okay? But if you have too much, you make it, heat it up in the morning, mix it with some eggs, it makes a great omelet. Okay? Okay? Then you put the mozzarella cheese on top. Now you guys out there, if you make this for your date, they'll love it. You just need an oven to cook it in. So I'm not sure if you could do this in the dorm, but if you're on campus, you have access to an oven. It's a nice, easy item to make. You can buy all these ingredients in the store, and it's just a little bit of work. You just have to cook the onions and the sausage. You know, I cooled everything down, so otherwise you burn your hands. As you're working here, the guy says, oh, you burn your fingers. You know, that's not good. So let it cool down a bit. You put it in the refrigerator and get it all ready. On this particular recipe, I kind of like to use all cold ingredients. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. I'll actually just rinse them off. Excuse me a minute. Okay. Now, put this down. Now I have this big pizza dough here that's covered. You could probably bake it like that, but that's not what we're doing here. We're going to roll it. I kind of start from my side and I lift the edge out. I kind of roll it over. Okay? You want it thin, but if you make it too thin, this is going to cause it to break. And you keep rolling it. And you roll it. Okay? You guys in college, I'm sure you've rolled a few things before. Okay? I'm going to roll it right to the edge. Now the seam is going to be on the bottom, so I'm pulling it toward me a little bit, and I'm tucking it around. I'm going to kind of shape it a little bit. And on the end, just kind of tuck them in. Okay, can we get a close-up on that? Let's see if we see that, okay? Nice little shoehorn shaped or horseshoe shaped. Okay, you see that there? All right. Now if the seam is on the bottom, it still may leak a little bit, but that's how you kind of know it's done. We'll show you that later, okay? Very simple item. Now we have an egg yolk. I put a little olive oil in there. And I'm going to mix it around. Just an egg yolk. I've used a whole egg. It's really too much, and the egg yolk makes for a nice crust, a nice color on it. So now we're going to brush this on. And by the way, this dough is probably a little darker than what you're going to find in the store. I use a little whole wheat flour. I'm always experimenting. If you want a recipe for pizza dough, I'll send you a recipe. Don't worry about it. But I like to use different things. I use different flours. I have a good pantry here. I have all kinds of stuff. I make Thai food. I make Argentine food. These Argentina ribs, which people love. And then basic stuff. I like to make appetizers. What's better than a cold beer and some chili or a piece of sausage bread watching the Super Bowl? It's one day a year I like junk food. Alright, so you give this a nice brush over. This is going to do two things. It's going to give it a nice brown color, which is also going to keep it crispy. You have a little hole there. That's okay. It's okay. Try not to make the hole. It'll work. Okay. It's also going to help the sesame seeds stick. So get these white sesame seeds. Just put them over the top, little by little. Okay. And I'm going to put it in the oven. Okay. Pretty much we're done at this point. Pretty much we're done. And it's going to go in the oven. It's going to go in for about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your oven and how evenly it'll cook. You know, it may take longer in some ovens. you know what, figure 35 to 40 minutes. Very rare is it going to get done in 30 minutes, unless it's too hot. So I'm going to put it in this oven, and when you see me in a minute, it's going to be done. I'll show you that. Thank you. Put it out of the oven. It was in for 35 minutes. You'll see it's got a beautiful color. Okay, nice and brown. You can see I had a little hole in it and the cheese came out, but that's okay. We'll eat it. It's still going to taste good. Okay. I let it sit a few minutes before we turn the camera back on to finish this. Just going to loosen it up a little bit. Lift it right up off of here, nice. The cutting board's kind of small, but what I like to do is I'll cut it in half. Right where that hole was, you'll never see it. Okay. And cut a nice piece off. Little pinwheels. Okay. And there you go.